Power BI desktop. Download Power BI desktop. So as soon as you type it and when you press enter, you can see the link for downloading the Power BI desk appears at the top of the search. Just click on this. It will take you to the Microsoft website. If you scroll down a bit in the Microsoft website, you will find on the left side the Power BI desktop. Here you will find, you need to click on the advanced download options. So when I click on this, it will take me to the next page. In the next page, if you scroll down a bit, you will find the language, English, by default English language. So we don't have to change it. You need to click on this download button, that's it. And then in the next page, you will find two options here. So use this one, 64.exe. Okay, I guess most of you have 64-bit version of your OS, right? So in that case, you need to select this one. Click on next button. The download will get initiated. You can see the progress of the Power BI desktop exe file is being done, right? So you can see the download progression. So you can see this one. So once the download get completed, you need to click on this exe file. When you click on this, it will open up the installation window, wherein you need to simply click next. That's it. So and after a while, you can see the installation is successful. Installation was successful, right? So and then you close it. All of you, I would suggest all of you please go ahead and download along with me. I believe most of you have connected from your laptop, isn't it? This Zoom invite meeting, you joined from your laptop. Even if you have joined it from your mobile phone, it is fine, but still follow my instructions strictly. But in your laptop, you need to download this one. Okay, I just repeat, since you are all completely new into the software industry itself, majority of you need to go to the google.com, right? So Google browser, right? Sorry, the Chrome browser or whichever browser that you want it, you open it, and in the search, you need to type download Power BI desktop and click on this icon, search icon, and you can see the powerbi.microsoft.com, right? Download link for the Power BI as the top of the search one. And if you scroll down, when you click on this and if you scroll down a bit, you will find more Power BI desktop. And you have other options like Power BI mobile, on-premises data gateway, on-premises reporting with Power BI report server, report builder. Let's not worry about other thing. First thing first, you go ahead and download only the Power BI desktop. I'll just show you one more time. You need to click on the advanced download options. When you click on this, it will take you to the different page. In this page, you will find English. Select language, click on download. That's it. And here you need to select this option. Click on next. 371.MB also, right? So it will download this one. In my case, already I downloaded it. I just pass it, okay, and I can also cancel it. See the previous one, right? So it got downloaded. Once the download was successful, right click on it, go to show in folder, so your file is there. Here the installation file. Like this it will open. Okay, you don't make any changes here, simply click next, and it will prompt you for your confirmation whether you want to install this software or not. Just click yes, and wait for some time. So preparing to install, I can see that. And then it'll compute the storage space, how much space is required to install the software. So click on next. So in my case, so in all your case, this, the same screen you can find it. If you had already clicked on the previous page next button, you'll find. So it is computing the space requirements. It will take for a while to check whether you have sufficient space to install Power BI desktop in your laptop or not. If you have, right, it will enable the next button. It will take for a while. Let's wait for a few more moments. It takes a lot of time. Usually it will not take this much of time. Let me just go and see. Yes, it's going on. So in my case, I installed many software, right? So it will be a bit slow. In your case, I think by now it would have enabled the next button. Click on next and click next, and and then you need to wait for some time. Let me just. It is that much easier installing Power BI desktop. Simply, until you find the install, you need to click next, and then once you find the install button enabled, click on the install button. It will take for a while, so probably 10 minutes or 12 minutes or 13 minutes. After a while, you will find installation was successful message. Even if you find the installation was successful message, don't close it immediately. Probably close it after 2 minutes or so. Next step is, yes, you go to the start menu button. Here you type the Power BI desktop. So here, when you type it here, you will find the Power BI desktop here. Okay, and just click on open. To launch your Power BI desktop, you need to click on that. When you click on that, it will take for a while. Don't panic, it will take for a while. It will take for some time. The desktop was launched successfully, right? This is what your Power BI desktop tool. So here on the right side, you will find the visualizations pane, and then you will find something else called the fields pane. Okay, I just type it here, visualization. 1 second, let me just visualize pane, and the next one alongside of this you will find fields pane. Okay, so just beneath this visualization pane you will find all types of charts that are available as part of your Power BI desktop. You can see it here, and along with this you will find fields pane. Under the fields pane you will find the table names for which you imported or loaded into your Power BI desktop. Okay, so far we did not load any data, hence the fields pane, just beneath this the fields pane, we don't see anything here. So this is what your fields pane here, just beneath the fields we did not see any tables or data got loaded into this one. Before we dive in to understand how to load the data in Power BI, let us quickly explore the basic navigations as part of the Power BI desktop. In Power BI desktop, we have something called a Power BI view. Okay, so this is your report canvas. This is nothing but the report. This is where we will be using all type of visualizations like stacked bar chart, clustered bar chart, and funnel chart. This is your funnel chart. All these charts, when you click on any chart, it will get moved towards this left side. This is your this is also called as a report canvas. Or if you keep the cursor over here, so it will show the report view, the report canvas, report view. This icon by default, when you open a Power BI desktop, you will find the report canvas here. Okay, and next icon is data view. This is called your data view. Let's see, we are going to load an Excel data into my Power BI desktop. Once the data get loaded into your Power BI desktop, just beneath this fields pane you will find the table name, and then the column name for the table. You can find it when you expand the the greater than icon next to your table name. You will find all the fields. You can find the table name and the fields that belongs to the table, but the data, if you want to see it, that are part of your file, right? You need to go here, click on this one to see the content of the table or file. You can see the data. In order to view the data, you need to click on this icon. So this is called your data view. This is your report view, data view, and the next one is your Power Pivot. This is called Power Pivot. Using Power Pivot, we can do the data model design. Okay, data model design, and the next one is this one is called your report view. This is your data view. This is where you can view the data. Hope you understood the purpose of these three icons on the left top corner here, right? So you can understand. So this is your, what you are seeing here is the report view. When you click on this icon, it will take you to the next the other page wherein you will find the data for the tables. Okay, if you select or if you want to see view a specific table data. Click on that specific table name. You will find the data on the left side in the other place, and this is where we do the data model design using Power Pivot. We do the data model design. Fine. Now what we will do is we will load some data here. What I am going to do is you will find something called the get data icon here. This is exactly similar to our Excel files get data icon, including the text and the icon, right? It is similar or identical to our Excel files get data icon. So when you click on the get data icon, you'll find a lot of options here. Okay, so here you will see Excel workbook, Power BI datasets, and Power BI data flows, and Power BI datawares. And these are different types of source system files, different types of files or database, or in simple term we call these things are connectors. If I want to import or load the data from my Windows operating system, the Excel file, into my Power BI desktop, you need to click on it. So in my case, I'm going to open a CSV file, text file or CSV file. What is CSV file? CSV file stands for comma separated value. For example, I'm going to say sales w04.csv. I just selected my comma separated value or the flat file, and now what happens, look here, it shows the file name which I selected it here, sales underscore w04.csv. I selected it from my laptop, and then you can see this is your data preview window. So before loading this data into Power BI desktop, we can preview the data, whether are we opening the right file, whether all the columns in this file has data in it. Yes, but we can see something like column 1, column 2, column 3 is something strange. Instead, the order ID should be here and order date should be here. There is some issue is here, but anyhow the data are, everything is good. And next, what I'm going to do, I'm going to click on load here. Okay, before loading this here, in this case, I'm going to click on the transform button here. The reason is the column header, this is called your column header. The column header, it is not showing the proper column name. Here ideally it should be row.id, order underscore id, order date should be there, but it is not there. Instead, something like column 1, column 2. It requires some kind of transformation. What I'm going to do is, I'm going to click on transform data instead of loading the data. So now, before even loading the data into my Power BI desktop, I found some issue. I need to fix it. To fix this, we click on transform data. Transform data is something like your kitchen. That is where we do all kind of cleaning, everything. So I just clicked on transform button. The moment when I clicked on it, it opens a different environment for something called Power Query Editor. Power Query Editor is an important topic. You need to remember this one also, this tool, Power Query Editor. In the Power Query Editor, we can see the file name sales underscore w04 as a query here. One thing what you need to remember when it comes to Power BI desktop is, when you load any file, let me just load this one first. I'll explain you what is this supply changes and all little later, don't worry. Ideally, I should have done the transformation and I should have loaded this one. Anyhow, for you people to shows something else. I just loaded this here. Remember, the Power Query editor is different, but it is part of our Power BI desktop itself that is available, using which we can do the data transformation. You need to remember that. If I go here, one second, if I go to my Power BI desktop, still it is loading the data into my Power BI desktop memory. Look here, the sales W04, the CSV file, comma separated value file got loaded into my Power BI desktop successfully. Now you might be wondering, so why this table icon is displayed along with this text file or flat file name? If you load any type of file or any RDMS table, irrespective of the source system type, once you load the data into Power BI desktop, it will be considered as a table. Remember this is important. That is the reason why alongside of this text file name, you can see the table icon. So henceforth, I'm not going to call this as a file, I'm going to call it a table. But when you open the Power BI query editor, instead of displaying it as a table, it displays as a queries. So when it comes to Power BI desktop, irrespective of the type of the file, it will consider everything as a table, but the same table as considered as queries in Power Query Editor. That's it. You need to remember this. Only these two things you need to remember it. The same table considered as a queries here. Fine. So okay, next what I'm going to do is, when I look at this, the column headers are not in the proper, it doesn't have the proper name. How to open Power Query? Lavnish, yeah. Lavnish has a good question. How to open Power Query Editor? Go to you remember when I loaded the file, look here. There are different ways of opening it. Since you have watched this question, please watch carefully. See, this is the file. Let's say my manager has given me to generate reports. He has given me this file. Hey, this file has data in it. I need so and so report to be generated. First and foremost, you need to load the data given by your manager, isn't it? So you first navigate to the folder where you stored this file. My manager given me this file and I stored it under D drive. In the D drive there is a folder called dat1. Under this dat1 folder I stored this file, downloaded this file. Next I need to load this file from this folder to my Power BI desktop. From here to my Power BI desktop I need to load it. Okay, and here what happened, this currently it is there in my operating system, right? So from the operating system to Power BI desktop I need to load it. So we have loaded it here, right? So we can see the loaded file here. This file got loaded here, right? Sales W04. Here it got loaded. We loaded it. So this is how you need to load it. So while loading it, it will give you three options. One is it will display three buttons. One is load button. I'll just show you one more time. Look here, I just click on open. That file I need to load it into my Power BI desktop. When you click on open, right, so it will show three options, three buttons: load, transform data. When you click on cancel, this data will not get loaded inside of your Power BI desktop. When you load, simply all the data will get loaded into my Power BI desktop. The other option is transform data. So why did I select transform data instead of load before loading this data? The reason is I want to move this row as a column header, right? So you can click on transform. When you click on the transform data, it will open the Power Query Editor. The other option to open the Power Query Editor is in the home ribbon, right? So in the home ribbon, you will find something called transform data icon. So when you click on transform data, it will open like this Power Query Editor. Okay, got it? This is how you can open the Power Query Editor. There are two different ways of loading it. At the time of loading the data into Power BI desktop itself using get data, right? So there itself you can do. Got it? Okay, fine. So then I don't want to repeat it. So you got it, right? So this is how we can load it. So now what I'm going to do is I just click on the transform ribbon here. You will find use first row as it is. And I'm going to select this use first row as it is. I'm going to select on it. So even though I clicked the use first row as it is, still it is not showing the proper column name because this just above this column header there was a blank line. So I'm going to select on use first row. One more time I'm going to select it. Look here, now each column has a proper column header assigned to it. Order row ID, order date, ship mode, right? Next, what I'm going to do is I'm going to select file and click on close and apply. I'll explain you what is close and apply a little later. We did some kind of data transformation. What kind of transformation we made? We promoted the column header from the row to row, right? From the row we have promoted the row header, we promoted as a column header. That is what we did. We did not have proper column name because the column names were defined at the third row of the file name, given file name. Okay, now you understood how to load a file, how to transform a file, right? So now I'm going to click on this, or this one, the greater than icon. When I clicked on this, it got expanded. We can see all the columns that are part of this table. We can see it here, category. So okay, in this file or table we have category column, country column, so many columns are there. Very good. So now I want to see the data that are part of this sales W04. In order to view the data that belongs to this table, you need to click on this icon, the data view. When I click on this, it will take you to this page, data view page, and it will take some time to load the data here. You have to have patience. Look here, the data got loaded here. So here you can see the data that belongs to sales underscore W04. Here everything is fine. The column headers were correctly mentioned. Everything is fine. So the next one is this one. So let me just go back here. What is that? This is called your Power Pivot. I just click on this icon. One second. When I click on this icon, you can find the data model design here. Since we have only one table here, we have loaded only one file, which is nothing but a table here. We could not see any link between tables since we have only one table. Okay, I'll show you this one. I'll explain you the model view or Power Pivot little later. At this moment, you remember how to load the data. First step is to load the data. First step is click on the get data icon. If they have given you Excel file, click on this one and then navigate to the folder where you stored the Excel file given by your manager. Let's say this is my file and click on open. When you click on open, what will happen is Power BI desktop establishes a connection to your source file. Look here, establish a connection to this .xls file, and then it will display the data preview window. You can view the data. You can take a cursory look at the data, whether each column has correct data in it or not. If everything is correct, then you click on load. If you find some problem with the data, or if you think we need to do some kind of data transformation or cleaning, then you click on the transform data icon button. In the case of Excel file, you can have multiple Excel files in a single Excel file itself. You can have multiple subsheets in a single Excel file. In that case, what will happen is when you open an Excel file, it will show all the subsheets wherein you have the data in it. Okay. Let us wait for some time. This file is quite a big one. So in this file, Excel file, I have two subsheets of it, big box order data. Let me see what is there in this sheet. Preview is evaluating. It displays the data for our review for this sheet. Look here, and these are the data are available. So what I feel is this is not the file that I'm looking for it, sheet, and I'm going to unselect this one. I'm going to click on the check mark here. It opens, it shows the preview. Okay, I think this is the correct one. Okay, and because it has all the column names correctly defined for each and every column. And then when you click on load, the data in this sheet will get loaded into Power BI. Supposing you want to load the data from all these subsheets that are part of the Excel file, select all this subsheet and then click load. It will get loaded, right? So before loading it, since you have selected two files here, right, it will show the data of each table, and if you select this one sheet, it will show the data that belongs to this sheet. By looking at this data, and if you think this data is not clean, if this one needs some kind of transformation, look here, in this case what happened, when I clicked on this, all the columns were having proper column header, whereas here the column names were not correctly defined. Something wrong here. Hence, click on the transform data. You need to specify the column names for this. Okay. So in that kind of situation, we have to use transform data. Data is not clean. You go on. If the data is clean, something like this, right? So then simply click on load. The data will get loaded here. So what I am going to do is, in our case, I don't need, because though these two subsheets have the same data in it, whereas this subsheet has the data with the proper data format. Data format in the sense, I have the column header for each column. Look at channel, meaningful column header, right? When I click on load, that data will get loaded here. So now you understood the difference between load and transform. Transform is to do the data transformation. Before loading the data into Power BI desktop, if you think you need to do some data transformation or data cleaning, click on the transform icon. Otherwise, simply click on the load button. The data will get loaded, and then you click on the transform data icon here. Click on this one. Right, you need to click on this one. When you click on this one, it will show again transform data. When you click on the transform data, it will open the Power Query editor. There are three components. You need to remember it very well. The first one is the report view. Second one is your the model view, report view, model view. Third one is this one, the Power Query editor. So using which only we do the data cleaning, everything. See, simple common sense. Let's say if you don't have the data, your manager or your customer did not give the data, but if they ask you to develop reports by giving some requirement document or specification, can you develop a report? Can you develop a report or dashboard? No. So you will ask him, hey, where is the data? Give me the data. Okay, the data was given to you, but in that data, a lot of issues are. The data was not clean. The format of the data for some columns were not correct. To fix those issues, you need to click on the transform data. When you click on the transform data, there are four different options. You need to click on the first one, the transform data. You need to click on the transform. This is the one opens the Power Query editor. Using Power Query Editor only we do the data transformation. What do you mean by data transformation? In case of any wrong data type assigned to a column. For example, you have an order date column. The data type for the order date column is supposed to be date data type. But while loading the data into Power BI, the Power BI desktop wrongly assigned text data type to your order date column. In that case, we are supposed to go to the query editor, Power Query Editor, using transform data. When you click on this icon, it will take you to the Power Query Editor. That is where you do the data transformation. What in this example, we need to convert the text data for the order date into date data type. That's it. Pretty simple, isn't it? Okay, fine. So now we are able to load these two tables successfully or files successfully. When now I just open the Power Query Editor one more time by clicking on the transform data. So once you load the data, usually we click on the transform data icon to get to the Power Query Editor, because this is where we do data transformation, everything. And here if you scroll towards the right side, you can see all the columns, and also you can find the number of columns that are part of this table here, right? So you can see how many number of columns instead of scrolling towards the right side and counting the number of columns, it displays upfront how many number of columns are there in data set here. This makes our job simple. Okay, in this data set we have 26 columns are there. Very good. Next step is we can click on the transform icon here, ribbon. In this ribbon you will find count rows option. When you click on this, it will display how many number of records are in this file. 25,004 records are there in this sales underscore W0 file. Okay, now you understood. So now I'm going to click on this one on the right side, the cross thing. It will undo the transformation, right? So the count, I don't want the count. So in Power Query Editor, remember the Control Z will not work. If I do something, let's say I typed mistakenly some name of a person in a Word document, or let's I typed correctly the name of the person, and then later on I just modified the name of the person, but while modifying it I made a mistake. How to revert to the previous previous version? Control Z. When you press the Control Z, it will show the previous one. How do I undo the change? Control Z in Microsoft Word and all, and most of the applications. But when it comes to Power Query Editor, Control Z or Control Z will not work out. So instead, on the right side, you will find something called applied steps. You will find the applied steps beneath this query settings. In the query settings, there are two categories. One is properties, other one is applied steps. If you want to modify the name of this query with meaningful name, what you can do is you just select here, for example, week 04 sales, and if you press enter, on the left side you can see the change, right? The newly modified query name, you can it's getting reflected here, week 04 sales. Okay, under the properties pane, if you want to modify the query's name, you can modify it with the appropriate name. And the next category is applied steps. Under the query settings, right? The second category is applied steps. This is where the Power Query Editor, behind the scene, it records all the steps whatever we carried out. For example, when I click on this change the type, just give me a second. When I click on this one, promoted, look here. Earlier, the row ID, order ID were not part of this column header. all these things were located here, right? As part of this row it was there. When I clicked on this one, for example, sorry, when I went to the transform ribbon, when I selected use first row as it is, when I selected this, so it got promoted from your row to the column. The promoted it as, right? And change the data type. So we just change the data type for what? Order. Okay, so this data type changes and all taken care automatically. We don't have to do this. See, in this case, promoting the headers also done automatically, isn't it? So we did not, yes, yeah, here we did it, yeah, explicitly, correct. And change the data type is done behind the scene by Power Query itself. So now what I'm going to do is, I just keep the cursor over this column in row.id, and when I right click on it, it will open the context menu. This is called contextual menu. The context menu, lot of options are there. I don't need this column for my report. To generate my report, the row.id is nowhere helpful. I'm going to click on remove. This column will get removed. Since I applied the step remove that column row.id, look here on the right side, automatically whatever I did it right, it is recording it here. Removed columns. Later point in time, if you want to see which column that you removed it, if you click on this one, it will show you which column, your row.id column you removed it. But all we did was to remove a column, we just right clicked on the column name, we clicked remove, that's it. That column got removed from this query. Behind the scene, what happened? It generated something called table.remove columns, changed type to row.id. So remove this column, right? Behind the scene, we have something called M language in Power Query editor. In Power Query editor, the M language is used. M language is used behind the scene. Behind the scene to perform the data transformation. Okay. Right, so this is the command. So we don't have to remember this command, we don't have to memorize on our behalf. All we have to do is, whichever column we don't need it, select that column, like how we select column in Excel, and if you right click on it and delete a column, it will get deleted. The same way it is happening, but it also generates a script on our behalf. In Python and other programming languages, if you want to delete a column from a data frame, you need to write a script something like this. Not exactly same, but you need to write some script. But here you don't have to write. Simply right click on it, remove it. But behind the scene, on your behalf, Power Query editor writes the script in the name of remove columns. Table.remove columns, change type to row ID. So for each steps that you carry out on these queries, right, each queries will get recorded here, okay, in sequential. Okay, it will get recorded in sequential. So now I removed a column. Supposing if I want to remove this column also, the second step is I removed another column. Look here, row.id comma order ID. Instead of generating the same script multiple times based on my auction, the second auction also removing the columns, isn't it? So row ID, the same syntax is same script is using it, but is including the additional column which I want to remove it automatically. Okay, so this is called your M language. For simple data transformation, we don't have to write any M language likewise. If you have a complex data transformation, in that case, you should modify this script. For example, tool for our learning purpose, I'm going to say comma inside the double quote. If I specify any column, look here, I just go back to this one and ship mode. I just select this one and I just right click on it, copy this name, and then when I go back here, remove columns, and if I specify it here, ship mode, press enter, that's it, your ship mode column gone, right? Ship code is not there. This is how you can modify this script, okay? But we don't have to do anything. For complex data transformation, you should be knowing how to modify these scripts, okay? If required, you need to write scripts on your own in between or wherever it is required to do the data transformation. At this moment, you just right click it to remove the columns. Behind the scene, Power BI generated the script on your behalf. You don't have to write or memorize M language or M script. It is that much simple thing. But complex scenario, you have to modify the script. You need to add some more script, something like that, okay? Fine. Now you understood what is applied steps. What this, and just beneath this applied steps, what are the steps that you carry out in order to do the data transformation? It records all the steps one after another. For example, if I want to change the data type, order date data type, look here, you can see that it got converted date data type. And here on the right side, look here, the change type 3. When you click on this, you will find removed columns, order date, type date. So here what happened, removed columns is the previous step. This is the one it says, right? So after removing these 3 columns, the table dot remove, right? It will have something like except these 3 columns, the rest of the columns will be there. At this moment, you ignore this one, okay? So order date got converted date data type. Earlier it was a text data type. How do you know it is a text data type? For each column name, look here, for each column name, along with this, we'll find small icon. ABC is text data type. Ship date is text data type. And you can see a lot of text data type here. And if you scroll towards the right side, and you will find something like quantity. Here the quantity, next to this you will find 1, 2, 3. So this icon tells us it is a whole number, integer data type. Quantity is a integer data type. That is what we can understand. So along with the column name, it displays the icon. With that icon, we should be able to make out what data type that column is all about. Look here, in this case, discount, right? The icon, it shows 1.2. That means discount is a decimal value. It has a decimal value in it. Hence 1.2 is there. Quantity is a whole number, integer. Hence it shows 1, 2, 3. So along with the column name, it displays the data type in the form of icons, appropriate icons, okay? Now going back to this one, I just changed it to date data type, but it was showing some error. What I am going to do is let it be there. Supposing I wanted to know what are the steps so far we carried out from the beginning, right? You can ignore these steps and then you just click on the promote. These are the steps automatically carried out by Power BI query editor, okay? And promoted it as we have moved the row ID, order ID from the row to this column explicitly by clicking on use first row as headers, right? And then what happened afterwards, we changed the data type automatically for all the columns. We did not do anything. And the next one is, this is the steps carried out by us. We removed these 3 columns, and then what happened, and then we changed the data type for the order date as date data type, because order date was, along with the order date, you were able to see ABC, which means order date was assigned as a text data type. It is not actually text data type, it is supposed to be a calendar or date data type. So once I change the data type by clicking on this icon, you need to click on this icon to change the data type, and here you will find these data types. in Power Query Editor or DAX, the number of data types are very less compared to Microsoft SQL Server. See, the one point order date is not a decimal number. It is not a whole number. It is a date time or date. In my case, I have selected only date data type, right? So now the icon got changed along with the order date as a calendar. So with this, we can easily understand order date column is a date data type. But we could see some kind of error. We'll discuss this later. Okay. The point what you need to remember is whatever the transformation, like changing the data type, removing the column, these are called data transformation. Okay. So whatever the steps that we carried out one after another, it recorded everything just beneath this applied steps. But there are some steps, right? It carried out automatically behind the scene by Power Query Editor. Okay. Next one is I'm going to click on this apply and close. Sorry, close and apply. So what will happen is when I click on the file menu or the file ribbon, we have a lot of options: save, save as, close, apply, close and apply. So I'm going to click on close and apply. What does that mean by close and apply? When I click on close and apply, close this Power Query Editor and go back to this report view or something like here. Okay, and right, close this Power Query Editor and also apply all these steps before you close this one. That is what we are saying. So that means whatever this data transformation I did it, right? So it all recorded as part of steps. Apply all this data transformation. Apply all this data transformation before you closing this Power Query Editor to my model, data model. Right? So now the question is, here I removed 3 columns. What are the columns that I removed it? If you click on removed columns, you go back and remember, right? You can go back and refer what are the columns that I removed it. Since it records each steps under this applied steps, at any given point in time you can go back and check what columns that I removed. So what is the data type? I change it. Right? How do what is the promoted address? What we did it, right? So everything you can see it here. Removed columns, you can see it here. Change the data type. What data type I change it here? One second. What data type I change it here? In this case, I did not do anything, but here I changed the order date column from text to date data type. It will help you to refer back, since the register or record all the steps whatever you carried out one after another. It records right beneath this applied steps pane. When you click on the file close and apply, it apply all these steps to your model and then it closes the Power Query Editor. Now the question is, okay, I have removed these 3 columns: row ID, order ID, ship mode. Does that mean in the file, the operating system file, look here, I have used this file to load it, right? So I use this file to load it into my Power BI desktop. This is the file I loaded inside my Power BI desktop. But whatever the columns that I removed it got removed only in the memory, Power BI desktop memory, or inside the Power BI desktop only these 3 columns got removed. In my operating system file, sales_w4 csv, that in that file all these 3 columns will remain as it is. Whatever the changes that you make it to your data set as part of your Power Query Editor or Power BI desktop, that will get affected only in the Power Query Editor only. It will not delete the record from your Excel file, underlying Excel file. You need to remember that. That's it. I'm going to close and apply. So now my Power Query editor got closed. My Power Query editor got closed. If you see here, apply change discards, we don't have to do anything. It is auto creating kind of loading data to model. So what is your model? This is your model. This is where all the changes, whatever we made it, right? Data transformation, removing 3 columns, changing the text data type of your order date column to date data type, right? All these changes are applied on your model. But still I'm getting some error because in the order date column we have some errors. Let us ignore that at this moment. I'm going to click on close here. Right, so all the changes, whatever the transformation that we did it using Power Query Editor, it will get stored in your model here. That is what he is saying. And we will go and verify whether the column names, look here, row underscore id, row.id, column went off, and we removed some other columns, right? And ship date column, column we removed it. Order date is not showing anything here. Just click on this drop down. Since we had some error, it simply ignored this one. But it has data in it. Since we have blank records are there in this column, it is showing something like that. Okay, it is showing blank. If I remove this one, if I uncheck the blank here, if I click on it, it will show all the order dates. That blank records were nothing but the errors, right? We got some errors. We'll help you out how to fix the error little later. At this moment, you understand what is the role of Power Query Editor, transform data. So how to go to the Power Query Editor, click on the home ribbon. You need to click on the home ribbon. In the home ribbon menu, you can see transform data. Click on this, click on transform data. It will open your Power Query Editor. That is where we do all, we change the data type, everything. In some cases, right, we can do it here also. For example, here I'm going to click on the ship date. When I click on the ship date here, or segment, or ship date, the column tools, when you click on the column tools ribbon, you can find the data type for ship date. It is a text. Even for the ship date, wrong data type got assigned as text. Here it's supposed to be date data type. You can change it here also, but when you change it here, look here, it's stored differently. Look, your format is text here. You need to change this one also. It got changed as a date data type, right? It got changed as a date. Here also you can change it, but in general we go to the Power Query Editor. That is where we do all kind of the data type changes and splitting the column and merging the columns, removing the records. Everything is pretty simple when you use Power Query Editor. Power Query Editor, you need to click to get into the Power Query Editor, you need to click on the transform data. The next one, I just click on this to go to the report canvas page. On the right side also I can see the column names, everything here. With this, you understood the basic navigation that are required. So initially the beginners, non-programmers, they get confused. They think, right, it is a completely different thing, difficult to remember. Can you do plain data? So what do you mean by plain and unplain data? Lownish. Plain, I was talking about plain. It's not a plain data. It is plain data or unplain data. There is nothing called plain and unplain data. So what do you mean by plain data? Are you talking about spatial data? It's not a plain data, nothing like a plain data or unplain data. Okay, we have something spatial data. That is to specify this one, the map related data. Okay, Fine. So now we understood the basic navigation. This is the report view by basically this one, and this is data view. To view the data that are part of your data set, you can see it here. To view the data model. So what do you mean by data model? It is something like the blueprint. Before you construct a house, you need to have the solid blueprint in place. Without blueprint in place, if you build a house, and later point in time, if you realize it requires some kind of alteration, that can lead to major damage, and it involves a lot of time uh, to to make changes to your house. Okay. So similarly, when it comes to data model design, you need to have the solid data model in place. The design should be optimal, without which, if you develop the report, for the moment it will work, for the time being it will work, but later point in time, if you wanted to create reports which requires data from multiple tables, and if the relationships were not properly defined or something like that, your report will have inaccurate data. So to remember these three components that are part of your Power BI desktop. One is report view, and the model view is nothing but Power Pivot. Next one is Power Query Editor. That's it. Next, what we will do is we will go ahead and take a look at how to load data into various data sources in Power BI desktop. So there are different types of data files. We use it in general, something like connecting to CSV files. That is what we have seen. So what do you mean by CSV files? CSV files are nothing but the comma separated value files. Comma separated values. The CSV files are nothing but comma separated values. What do you mean by comma separated value files? For example, your manager is given you a file by the name of sales underscore week 4 sales.csv file. The extension of the file is .csv. This .csv is nothing but comma separated values. Okay, what exactly comma? When you open this file using a notepad, you will find something like this. The order ID, order date. Each column will be separated by comma, and also the values of each column. Order ID is OI011-02. Each columns and the corresponding values are separated from other columns and other values. Order date is 11/02/2021. If you don't use comma, what will happen? So 11/2/2011 and 02/22, some confusions can happen. The order ID can also have alphanumeric value. So 0 is these are the OIO, and 11 is a numeric value. This is alphabetic, this is a numeric value, and this is called alphanumeric. You have a mix of alphabet as well as a numeric value, hence it is considered as a text data type in Power BI. And not only in Power BI, majority of the programming language, since you have the alphanumeric value, right? So it's a combination of these two. You'll consider these type of data as a text data type, and here also it will consider text data type. But in simple term, now you understood what is comma separated value. Each columns will be separated by commas. But in some projects they use semicolon. Each column is separated by it is also called as a delimiter. In the case of sales underscore W04.csv file, the delimiter was comma. We call this a comma separated value files. Hope you are able to understand, isn't it? Next, we will take a look at how to connect to SQL Server, how to connect to OData using REST API. How do we connect to this OData? We will first start with understanding what is REST API, and then we can use some URL to connect to the data set using via your REST API. And the next one is how to connect to web pages from Power BI desktop, and how to connect to the database PBADS files, and JSON files, and these things we will take a look at later point in time, because I don't want to spend majority of the time upfront in explaining all these different types of data, right? We will take up these things later point in time. So now we have seen, as part of the introduction, we have seen how to connect to .csv files, how to load the data, and how to do a simple data transformation. We have seen it. Next, we will jump into Power BI desktop, and we will take a look at how to connect to SQL server. I just go to the Power BI desktop. Let me clean all this mess. So in order to connect to SQL server, you need to have the SQL server host name, server name, and then the username. In my case, I have installed the SQL server in my laptop itself. So Power BI desktop and my SQL server, everything is running in my local laptop. So what I do is, but don't worry, we will help you how to download and install SQL server later point in time. At this moment, you just watch how I connect to SQL server. I just click on this get data icon, and if I scroll down, I could see that SQL server connector. It is called a connector. I just click on this one. It will take for a while to open up a dialog box, something like this. And here I need to specify my server name. So how do I know the server name? Just go to the start menu, and here I'm going to say SQL server. Since I already installed it, it is available here. I just click on open. It will take for a while to open it. And I remember it will start with desktop, and then I don't remember the name exactly now. One second, I'll just open the SQL server. We have something called SSMS. SSMS stands for SSMS. Okay, SSMS stands for SQL server. Note it down. SQL Server Management Studio. Okay, SQL Server Management Studio. That is what I clicked it now to get the server name. Okay, it will take some time to open the SQL Server Client 2, which is nothing but my SSMS. SSMS also takes a lot of time to open, like a Power BI desktop tool. Even SSMS also takes time to load it, to launch it. Okay, let us wait for a moment, and then in the meanwhile we will see what other things. Yeah, connecting to OData web pages, and I'll take a look at it. And side by side, I'll just go ahead and something I type here, make.powerapps.com. And if you guys think I'm speeding up, you let me know. You type it in the chat window. I will slow down. Okay. So side by side, all of you go to the google.com, and what you do is you just type Power Apps until that SQL server opens, right? The SSMS, which is Power Apps. Because once you join the software company, they will expect you to do multitasking. Click on this icon. So the first one, right, Power Apps, or the second one, I'm going to powerapps.microsoft.com. If you go here, you need to sign up here. Okay, since I already signed up here, I got my username and password already. I have it with me. I think for this you need to use your company email ID. If you use private email ID, I don't think so it will work. Anyhow, you just give it a try. Anyhow, I have the username and password for this website because I already signed up on this website. Look here, it got connected. Okay, I don't want to mix up all the things in one thing. Let us see whether the SSMS came up. Yes, my SSMS came up. I clicked it multiple times, that's why it opened multiple session. But be cautious, you are just pressing it, you click on it only one time, the Microsoft SQL Server Management Studio. Though it takes less, more time, when you click on it multiple times, look here, this is my server name, right? This is my server name. Right click on it, copy. You just understand how to connect to SQL at this moment, okay? Don't worry about how to install, how to configure. Just you will find the server name here. Just alongside the server name, you will find the server name. You don't have to specify the server name, all the things. It is taken care automatically at the time of installation, okay? It assigns the name for the server, everything. Simply copy this one and go to your Power BI desktop. Here you specify the server name. That's it. Here, if you remember the database name, you can specify the database name. What is database? In SQL Server, we can create you can create one or many databases. Each database can hold one or many tables. Okay, so database is something like a container, right? And let's say you go and buy this one. You go out to a grocery shop. You go and buy vegetables. You go and buy different provisional items. Sugar packet in a separate container. You just think that way, okay? And grocery, all vegetables, they'll put it in a separate container. These are all container. So database is something like a container, okay? So to store the data, we create databases. Look here my data. I know my database name. Already I created a database name by the name of sales. When I click on OK, it will establish a connection to my SQL server. You need to specify the correct SQL server name. If it shows something wrong, a name specified for the SQL server, right, then you need to talk to your team leader, ask him to give the correct SQL server name, okay? Look here, it got connected. In this database, sales database, I have a lot of tables already created. As I told you, a single database can have multiple tables in it. In this case, for demonstration purpose, I'm going to click on dim product. I'm going to check mark this one. The moment when I check mark it, on the right side in the data preview window, we can see all the columns with the values for this table got displayed here. So I'm going to click on load. Instead of using transform data, I just click on load. It is that much simple. Where to get SQL in which version? Lavanish, yeah, I'll tell you. Let us not mix up. You will get confused. First, we will go step by step. Yeah, Shweta, it's a very valid question. Shweta's question is, without installing SQL Server in a system, how can we? So we are not very particular about SQL Server, all these things at this moment. We are very particular about how to load the data from various source systems. Anyhow, we will be working on the CSV file, all things. Anyhow, I'll help you out later point in time. If you watch my video, you can practice it later on also. In the interest of saving time, right, what I'm going to do is I'll just show you how to do this one. We will take it up later, right? So, or else I will show you now itself how to download and install it. Okay, we will do it side by side, because when you watch a video how to connect to various source system, it should relate to that one only, right? Otherwise you will get confused. I'll create a separate video, or I'll share another video wherein you can see the how to install SQL Server. It's not a big deal. I'll show you everything in a separate video, okay? I'll share that link. Or else what I'm going to do is I'm going to pause there. We discussed so far how to connect to SQL Server, how to import the table from the sales database. I just go back here once again, and SQL Server, I just click on it. Here we have 3 different options are available. Look here I just copy pasted this one, the server name. Yes, I started the recording, Lavanish. But by the way, thanks. If you remind me, it will be good. Sometimes, right, I might forget. One way it is good, but anyhow, I started the recording, okay? So look here, this is my SQL Server name, and the this thing I just copied from the SSMS tool, isn't it? Look here, this is the one. I just simply right clicked it and copy it, and I just pasted it here, simply here, okay? And then here you need to specify the database name. Since I know the database name, I just specified it. Sales, I just specified it. And you can see just beneath this, the server and database, you will find some data connectivity mode. It is also called as a data storage mode. And we, by default, the data connectivity mode is import, because the import, next to the import, right, the radio button got selected. This is the default connectivity mode. You can change the connectivity mode from import to direct query. For that, you need to click on this one. Okay, and then, or let's say if you want to click on the advanced editions, so simply you can specify the SQL query here. Okay, instead of specifying the database name and all, right, or you can specify database name, and instead of selecting the tables and all, see, when you up to this, if you are done, for example, you are done up to this, you specify server name, database, and click on OK. It will open the, it will connect to the SQL server, and it will open the SQL server database by the name of sales. In that sales database, what all the tables are, it will show everything. Instead, if you write a SQL query by joining, let's say you are joining 3 or 4 tables, if you specify the query directly here and if you click on OK, whatever the output of that SQL query related data only get visible in your data preview window. That we will discuss it later. I don't want to overwhelm you with so many concepts upfront. At this moment, you remember how to connect to SQL Server. That's it. Yes, even I hope SQL Server Manual Studio also got downloaded now. We will take a look at how to connect to the OData, the REST API. So what do you mean by REST API? First of all, what is an API? Can someone tell me what is an API? I could see some computer science professors are there. I just enable you to unmute. Yeah, Sumit, you raised some questions, right? So tell me, what is an API? API is an interface, isn't it? API is an interface, and we use something called the REST API, right? So using API, you can connect to, right? So let's say you have a client and server. In the client server environment, just give me a second. I'm getting some thing. Okay, I'm back. Sorry, somebody was disturbing. So what is REST API? How do I connect to REST API? Look here, go to simple. You can go to get data, and here you will find something called OData feed, open data framework. There is something called open data framework. Right here, I'm going to specify the URL or the REST API link. If I specify the URL link for the REST API, it will get connected to the client. Okay, for example, you have the client server environment. You have something called client and server. Let's say you have something called client. You have a client and server. See, something like let's say you want to book the ticket for movie, book my show. You have something called book my show app, right? So what you do is, you are, as a client, you are just launching the app, and then what you are doing, using the REST API, right? The REST API is an API or the interface. It will help you to connect to the book my show server, right? So what they do is, they will enable you to connect to their server whenever, to see the status, right? Which movies are currently available, to book the ticket, which date and which location and which theater the seats are available. If you want to see that in your mobile phone, you have installed the book my show app, and when you if you want to see the availability, you are sending the request for a specific date. You are specifying, right? So which date you want to book the ticket, how many number of people you want the seat, right? On which date, which time. You send this request to your server using REST API. You are sending the request as an HTTP, right? HTTP request. You are sending an HTTP request to the REST API. The REST API, it takes your request to the server, and server will respond back to your mobile app using the REST API. In simple terms, this is what is happening. See, in real-time scenario, for example, you have a manufacturing unit, you have a manufacturing unit, and you have the plants, manufacturing plants located across the location, across the geography. Okay, and what happens is, let's say you have another let's your Walmart or some other thing, right? So Walmart or Target, some other e-commerce service provider. So whenever the customers comes and checks, what happens, see there what happens, the Walmart or Target, so apart from they are allowing their sellers to display their products on their website, so there are some products Walmart they themselves buy it from other manufacturer, and then they put the label on top of the packet. For example, they are buying some moong dal, let's moong dal, they are buying it from some manufacturer. So manufacturer, what they do is they get the raw moong dal from the agriculture, the villagers, right? The agricultural people, right? And then he cleans it, and then he put it in a packet using some machines, right? And then he ship it to his end customers or the stockist. Let's say Walmart is the stockist, they are delivering it to them. Walmart, what they do, upon getting that one, they will do quality check everything, and then they will put their label on top of it, and then they will sell it. So they have some tie up with this manufacturer, or they have some manufacturing unit, they will get it and they'll put their brand name. And so, or let's say if they are getting it from the third party people, the moong dal, what they do is, right, so before buying the moong dal, they will have to check with multiple manufacturer the price, the cost price. On top of the cost price, only when they know the cost price, they can decide the margin by coming up with the appropriate selling price. So in that case, what they will get the pricing for moong dal from multiple manufacturer or vendors, and then they will decide which vendor's price is cheaper and the quality is good. Based on the quality and the cheaper cost, they will decide the vendor. Let's this vendor having the locations in multiple places, they have manufacturing on it, and what they do is, instead of sharing the data as per whenever they call and ask, right, they will expose their data using an API to the outside world. The data can be available in more than one table. So once they expose their data to the to the public using an API, they simply share the API. Hey, if you want to see, let's say Walmart, they wants to buy 1,000 products or 1 million products. Each and every product, practically it is not possible to sharing it to them, right? Simply if I expose the data using an API to Walmart or to the outside world using an API, they can go and pick up, right? So they go and check whenever they need a specific products, they go and check everything using an API. So in simple term, they can use an app Walmart, and then they can using their the app, and behind the scene the REST API can help them to communicate to the manufacturer server, and it sends the request and get the response back to your app with the API. Okay, so in that case, what will happen is so there you can share all your data related information to your customers. In this case, Walmart is their customer, right? So in that way, right, it will be faster. There is no dependency on all. Now let us take a look at how we can connect to, how we can use an API to get the data from. So in this case, importantly the manufacturer, they have a plans across the location. Supposing Walmart wants to deliver a product in a specific location, so using this API itself, they can see, right, all these different locations data appears to a single location to Walmart. That is also another advantage of using API. But for the Walmart, all they need to just use their where the URL link, the REST API link. That's it. It'll show all the data that are exposed to the outside world. So Walmart can go and choose, say, in this location what is the price. Location to location, the price also varies. So now I am going to, so now you got some amount of idea about the REST API. So all you need is the URL services.odata.org. See, in real time scenario, you will be working on cloud. Majority of the cases you will be working on is the cloud only. So this is also cloud only. Using the data is available on cloud. They explore this data using an API. The API link name is this one. Since I remember this on top of my head, I just typed it. Now I am connecting to that specific link. So these are the tables that are suppliers and products, right? Here I have only two suppliers and products. So these are the products. If I wanted to import these two things, I can import it. With this simple example, you understood how to connect to the REST API. Look here, these supplies and products, these two tables got imported here. That's it.